The new channel. The new channel. Hashtag TNCNow.
The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following shows are those of the host, producers, guests, and viewers. They do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Well, hello and welcome to the new channel. Born out of passion, we are a community that helps you be the new you. I'm Dr. Michelle Mras, streaming live from the United States amongst the beautiful mountains of Colorado. You are watching Mental Shift. Well, hello there to the United States and to the Philippines. Magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Tonight, my guest is an author, speaker, and mindset coach who has heard people state that working towards success is like moving upstream without a paddle. It is his mission to help others see that with the proper mindset, they can get up that proverbial stream with no paddle needed. Please welcome my guest, Dr. Garrett Goggans.
Hello.
Hello. You're in the beautiful mountains of Colorado too, aren't you?
I am.
So, Garrett, we met a while ago. Your sister actually introduced us, and she wanted me to be on your show, without a paddle. And I would love for you to share the story of your mental shift, because that's what we talk about here on Mental Shift is what were we doing before? What mental shift occurred that brought us to what we're doing today? And I would love for you to share that story with our audience today.
Absolutely. I always go back briefly, like it's not a long history, but I want to go back to when I was 16 because it's very important, because I ran away from home and dropped out of high school when I was 16 years old. And we'll go from there and then we'll jump forward, because the through that time, growing up from 16 to where I am at now at 48, 48, there was a lot of successes in my life. I obtained the doctorate, from dropping out of high school to having a doctorate. I think it's pretty amazing, but I never thought of myself as being successful. So I had all these successes, but I never felt like I was successful. And that was because I had gone through many rock bottom states, and everybody that has these things, right? We had the highs and lows in life, and my lows seemed to be pretty low. So my first divorce happened in 2009. I lost my job about 6 months later. I was unemployed for 3 years at that point. Came out of that, dug out of that, got married again, found another job, was finding some success in that. Then I got another divorce and I lost my job about 4 or 5 months later after that. So I kept hitting these rock bottom states. And the second time I was going through this divorce, and I was jobless, why do I always end up in this place? Why am I constantly here? And I had remembered something that came back to my memory from a training event that I had been in that the speaker had said, look, any success that you have in life or any success that you don't have in life has absolutely nothing to do with external circumstances. So my ex-wives or my ex-jobs or my ex-bosses has nothing to do with other people or those circumstances, but has everything to do with you. And at first, then it made no sense to me. I was like, that seems really harsh, because I did not ask to be divorced. I did not ask to be jobless, right? But the second time around, that came back to the forefront of my mind and said, if that's true, if it has something to do with me, then what about me needs to change in order for me to stop ending up in this place that I was at? And so I went to just an old mentor of mine who I knew read a lot of books, was really huge into personal development. And I said, just give me books, give me something that I can read to figure this piece out. So he gave me, the first book was Dr. Shad Helmstedter's What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. And I read that book, and it changed my life, because I started to recognize the self-talk that I was doing based off of this guilt that I had from when I had ran away from home when I was 16 to this point now. I had carried this guilt with me, and I never felt worthy of having success. And so that book changed my life and helped me to understand that there was pieces inside of me, things that I had to let go in order for me to start finding the success and feeling like I was successful in the ways that I had wanted. So I jumped just headfirst into personal development. And I tell people now, I don't call it personal development anymore. I call it personal discovery. Because if you do this right, you discover where you want to go, who you want to be, and you discover who you currently are and what you need to shift in order to obtain these things that you want out of life. And so that started this whole just huge thing with me, and it spawned my first book called Moving Upstream Without a Paddle. In this context that while we're going through this, it feels like it's a daunting task. We're always taking 2 steps forward or 3 steps back. And it feels like we're moving upstream without a paddle. I've heard people say that so many times. But as I was progressing through my self-discovery journey, I found that when you apply these proven mindset principles, you can move upstream, downstream, side stream. It doesn't matter where you go, and you don't need this paddle. You are the propulsion, right? You just basically attach a motorboat to yourself and just go wherever you want. And it was the craziest thing. So I wrote this book on these 4 foundational principles that I thought at that time for the mindset, and that spawned the podcast, and the podcast spawned another book, and it just went from there. So all these successes were just now falling in my lap, and I was like, this is the craziest thing ever. I never thought that I could be here, all from releasing guilt and applying mindset principles. So with the podcast, then people started coming to me and were asking me questions like, how did you get here? How did you do this? How did you do that? And I got so passionate about other people's journeys and my journey and these mindset principles that someone told me, you need to start charging for this, because it just became so huge. And that's what kicked off the coaching practice. So the podcast and the speaking and all that was based around this passion that I found in this personal discovery journey.
And that is why we get along. Because it was with my own personal discovery was, it's not about anybody else. It's me. I'm what was holding me back. And like you, finding wisdom in a book that kind of shifted me. Mine was a really simple book that someone gave me in high school, and I had never read it. And then one day I picked it up. My husband said, you should probably read that book. And it was something, it was called, well, I'd still do it. It's called Illusions by Richard Bach. And what I realized with that was, I create my reality. I was the only thing in my way, and that what I feared, what I thought was going to happen, I basically was bringing it to myself because I was so down on myself. And once I realized, wait a minute, I got to get out of my way. That's what shifted on me. And it all happened after my brain injury and all that. But just like you, it's like, I'm always a failure. I'm always a failure. The same thing is always, and I kept saying, it's just going to happen again. Why? It's just going to happen again. and I made it happen. I think I brought it to fruition. And so when I started the whole speaking thing, and then I wrote my book, and then I did my podcast, almost the same.
Right.
That's when I realized people need to hear this. And then they're like, how did you get from here to here? I mean, I saw you on that TEDx, you were 389 and now you're this. I mean, what did you do? I said, it wasn't exercise. It was my brain. It was all the mindset of, you're always going to be this way. You're never good enough. I had to get out of my own way. And so when I met you, and your sister was telling me about you, and then I met you, and I met you at several events here in town, it was like, he's my kind of people, because we both believe in other people. We both believe that you can do anything. Get out of your own way. It's all
Right.
here. And
Yeah.
I love that upstream without a paddle, because my expression is stop going in the wind like a leaf. Don't go willy-nilly. You can actually choose the path. But if you are going to be hit by something, you move like water, over, around, and through.
Yes.
Yeah. Exciting. I love that. Not personal development, personal discovery, because it is. It's uncovering the person you've always been and never let yourself be. And so moving upstream without a paddle, where can they find you? The podcast. I know they can find your books everywhere.
The podcast, it's on www.nopaddleneeded. The podcast is there. It's actually about to go through a huge shift. It's grown so much that I'm going to rebrand it and do all kinds of fun stuff with it. So it's been a huge. It's funny because it's a huge passion project that I didn't want to do. So somebody coerced me into doing it, and I just fell in love with it. So yeah, nopaddleneeded.com is where you can find the podcast.
Got it. Thank you. And do you broadcast all the time? Do you ever do live ones where they can come in and listen and ask questions? Or
I do. Yes, I do lives on. It goes live on YouTube, and it goes live in a Facebook group of the same name, and just those two places though. So it's, if you want to see it there, you can see the video, and then obviously the audio goes out to all the predominant what do they call them, podcast state, so Apple podcast and all those good places.
Your favorite podcast platform.
Yeah, right.
But nopaddleneeded.com. So if you'd like to listen to Dr. Garrett Goggans and his podcast and the people he helps and how he helps, he does have an amazing podcast. I was on it about 1.5 years ago, I believe. And go learn. As I always tell you, those of you who are out there listening in listening world, is always learn. And you can learn from everyone and everything around you. That's one of the reasons TNC was created, was to help people find that voice they've been looking for. And so when I invite people onto the show, it's someone like you who I know someone's waiting for your voice, and they're on the other side of the planet. And so by putting you on the show, they can see you, hear you, and do, I need to connect with this person because he or she will help me get to that next level in my life. So go to No Paddle Needed to get to his website, to his podcast, and then look up his books. But you'll love him. Just, he has the great voice, so you can listen to him all the time. It's really easy. He's easy on the ears.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So we have been talking about how you got here. Now, you said you ran away at 16, and then you dropped out of school. But here you are in your late 40s, and you've got a doctorate. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey? What made you, what the gumption to go back to school? What did you do? How did you, there's so many people out there who do, I gave up. I can't.
It was my dad. I actually have to give him the credit, because he was wise enough to say, I had been on my own, for about 1.5 years. My dad was stationed in Korea, and he came back from Korea. And so I had been on my own, and I was working 2 full-time jobs, and I was living. I'm not saying that I didn't have successes even then. I was very ambitious, but yet very immature. So, so he came back from Korea and said, "Look, Garrett, I need you to go back to school. Like, you have to go back to school." And he was very big on education. He had a master's in music, and so he really was just huge in this piece. And so he made me this deal. And I don't know of a parent today who would do this, but he said, if you move with me to Kentucky, he was being stationed in Kentucky, and go back to school, you going to school will be your job. I will give you a paycheck. And as long as you are getting the grades, your paycheck will come in. So I had an hourly wage that I was working on while I was in school. And it was the one thing that I could focus on. And I made a deal with him. I said, I'll do it, right? I'm going to do it. Because I was feeling like I wasn't going anywhere. I had the ambition. I just wasn't, I wasn't where I wanted to be. So I said, I'll do it. But if I'm doing it, I'm going all the way. And so it wasn't just going to be, I knew it wasn't just going to be go and get this associate's degree just to get a job or to get a bachelor's degree. It was good. I was going to go all the way. Now there were some pivots that I had to do there. I changed degrees from architecture. My first passion was in architecture. So my doctorate is actually in computer science. But it was that promise that I made to him and to myself that just propelled me to go through that journey. And it was hard. I'm not going to tell you it was the easiest thing, because I was so used to not being in school at that point. It's not the easiest thing to jump back into. You lose a lot of your time. And then, as you well know, with a doctorate, it consumes a lot of your life. And there were so many times, especially during the doctorate, that I wanted to throw in the towel, but it came back to what I told my dad is like, I'm not letting that man down. He did so much for me. So I have to keep my word and do what I said I was going to do for him. So.
That's awesome. I can't let Dad down. Oh, I remember working 4 jobs, going to school and doing all that, thinking, I really wish my parents would bring me back and give me a paycheck. I did not like working. But my thing is I love school. I loved school, and I did anything to stay in school.
I found that too, that eventually I started loving learning, and I found out later, during the personal discovery journey, that we're creatures of growth. And when we can tap into that growth in any aspect, that it's very fulfilling for us. And so when we go down this and we start to learn things and apply the knowledge, I think that's where it really started to get to me, as we started applying things in the computer science realm. And then when I got out of school and found this passion within mindset coaching and really correlated it to computer science, I was able to apply things and find that growth. And then I just wanted more. I wanted learn more, apply more, learn more, apply more. And you just get addicted to the growth. And I feel like once you get into that, everybody will, I believe once people start down that path and experience that growth, it becomes an addiction to them as well. Exactly.
And then I think with me was I went to college for engineering, and it was so regimented, so do this and do that. And I remember going into like a philosophy class and then a marketing class. And I realized you can think beyond the numbers, and then I could apply the numbers. And I went, I love this free thought thing. I mean, I can make it my own. And I think that's when I left the whole engineering field and started going into marketing and all that kind of stuff, because I love the ability to adapt it to other things. And so I took a lot of my engineering with me, but never finished the engineering degree, beat myself up for years for that one. But eventually, got over the fact of, I am not an engineer. I have the mind for it, but I'm better with people than I was with the numbers. And so I had to find my way. And I, like you, school. Yeah, I love it.
People always told me that I was a computer geek with a personality, because I didn't think I did. I always felt like I had this standoffish thing with people. Social anxiety, that's a whole other story. Major social anxiety in my life that I overcame throughout this journey. But I always had the personality. Like I was always a storyteller. And with the friends and those people who got close to me, there was a deep connection with people that I found, and tapping into that, really finding that in that discovery journey, finding the purpose is I was people driven. Like I wanted people to come with me, whether it's through school, whether it's whatever passion you have in life, you can achieve it. You really can. Look what I did. And I'm not by any means, you know, my story, we always compare to other people. Like my story compared to others may not be that deep or whatnot, but there are so many kids who run away that never go back to school. And you can go and find the passion, and you could take it to the nth level. You just keep going. And it's such an amazing, beautiful journey when you discover that passion, tap into it, and run with it. It's just so amazing.
Yeah. And what I love to tell people is find what you love and do it. I mean, engineering, I was in it because I was smart. That's the only reason. I tested and they said, you're smart. So I went to engineering. And I remember people telling me my junior year of college, you're the most talkative engineer I've ever met. You are not an engineer. I do. No, I am. I ended up going to be a Baldrige examiner. I was into the numbers in the books and studying all the numbers and, you know, measuring the, I know it sounds crazy, the silos for missiles and making sure that the parameters of the missile. I love that stuff. And they're like, you talk too much to be an engineer. I don't think you're an engineer. I do. No, I can do it. That's what I do. They do. Yeah, that's not you. And what we ended up finding, that's how I found my voice for speaking, is I found that when we would go to do exams on companies for Baldrige and, you know, CPEC, whatever, Colorado Performance, I wasn't a quality examiner. I would go in, they would do, you know what? We got all the numbers. Why don't you go talk to the board? You explain what we did. And so I would go and explain to what we found and how to fix it. And I would smile, even though I'm telling you, everything's failing. There's big bottlenecks, but I could say it and people would accept it. And they do, you're really good at this talking thing. I do, really? I don't really like talking, but I'm good at it. And that's kind of what shifted my whole world into public speaking and writing, because I can communicate. And I didn't know I could. Right?
You can. I love listening to you talk. Every time I hear you, it really, and it doesn't have to be like a huge speech. Like we've gone to numerous book things together, and you get up and you just talk about the people that are in your books and the stuff that's in your book, and you just so passionate. And I don't want to say theatrical because it's the wrong word, but it's animated, and you just draw people in every time you talk. So I love listening to you speak. So you definitely do have a gift.
Thank you. They teased me on TNC because they said they can turn the sound off on my show, and I'm doing this. They do. You're always very entertaining. We don't even have to have sound on. You're entertaining.
That's
but
awesome.
It's a calling. So and that's what I love about what you do, is you help people find that mix in their life to go upstream without a paddle, because you are your own engine. Once you find who you are, and that's the power in that, and getting out of your own way. And that's why I wanted you on my show. I've been wanting you on for ages, and my show kept filling up and I couldn't get you in. I'm like, okay, I saw you again. Universe keeps putting you in front of me. Will you please just come in with me and do this? And here you are.
Here I am. Yeah, I'm happy to be here too.
Well, and I'm so excited that you've started more coaching, because I've seen that there are coaches out there and they're good, but there's a personality that you have that's very drawing, very calming, but the wisdom too. You know, you've got this magnetic of, let me open my heart to you so you can help me, because I know there's no judgment in you. You're not looking at someone, well, you know, it's not in your personality. And that's the other draw about you. And I'm excited about you writing more books and seeing you at more book launches and things of that nature because of your energy. You are a giver. You are a loving giver with empathy. I guess I can say it. But that's it. And every time I meet you, I always do, oh, there you are. You ever notice I do that?
Yeah, you do.
There you are.
Yeah.
But it's what you do.
I do. And I love the coaching piece, because just like you said, it's about I have that mindset of you just have to come with me. And I mean, you know this because you've experienced all these things. And I feel like people who go through these journeys and find the answers that we found, right? These things that, like, oh my gosh, what you can do. And we see it in other people's lives. Like, we listen to your story, we listen to the stories of we run in a very tight circle of people. We listen to their stories of overcoming and going through the things that they go through and coming out the other end, just shining, like you said, finding that higher self, the person that you truly are. I'm getting the chills right now just thinking about just how many more people, when they can find that, how it's just I'm always in awe when someone comes through and like, oh my gosh, Garrett, oh my gosh, Garrett, oh my gosh, Garrett. And I'm like, yeah, right, you can do it. And people are just starting to believe in things that they've never believed that they could accomplish. And it's just it just gets me, right? It just makes me want more.
I love it. And I've moved from the coaching to only speaking coaching, because I found that I am dramatic. I'm very animated, but I hear and I when someone tells a story, I actually visually see it. I can see images popping out in the middle of the air. I mean, and I can touch it and move it. So when I thought, I'm good at speaking, I'm good at writing, I'm really good at hearing other people's stories. And so once they come through you and they've already they're out of their way and they're ready to share that story, that's the piece I am. I'm the one that says, okay, this is your story. Let's craft it so that you can share it in big bits or tiny bits. You can go on a podcast and share it. You can go on a stage for 4 days and share it. That's my gift of taking the people that you are working with and helping them craft it so they can give it to the world in a prettier package without being afraid on stage. And then open more stages for everyone. Because as I'm moving in my world, like you said, you become your own momentum. I am running with so much momentum right now, like you. Come with me. We're going to be a tsunami. Come with me. And so I keep grabbing people. They're like, why are you grabbing onto me? I do, because it's a tsunami. We should go together. And
right.
the party is just now beginning. Let's go. And Garrett, when we come back from commercial, I would love for you to share exactly, how you work with people, maybe give an example of what it's like, when you do your retreats, those kind of things. And because I saw about those, and share a little bit more about how you work with them so that people can reach you from a distance. A lot of my show goes out into Asia, Australia, Europe, and the Americas. And I want them to be able to know how to get to you, to be part of your world. So if you can all stay tuned, share this stream, and we'll be right back right after this commercial. Thank you for watching Mental Shift. Do your friends a favor. Share this show with them. Now, do you know that TNC is a live stream platform of online shows for people on the go? Please watch all our shows as seen here on the screen. Now, imagine having your own show, your own playlist, your own content, but we make it easier for you. TNC aims to transform the lives of our viewers through engaging, authentic, and original content. Our vision is to become a global 24/7 live stream channel that showcases Filipino talent, global influencers, cultural intelligence, and ingenuity. Continue to watch Mental Shift live on Tuesday nights at 7:30 Mountain Standard Time or Wednesday morning, 9:30 in the Philippines, all of Asia. You can also watch replays via Facebook or YouTube. Follow us on Instagram and listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcast. You just need to search hashtag TNCNow. For sponsorship, please email now@thenewchannel.com or send a direct message to The New Channel. Enjoy these life-changing shows because we made them just for you. So welcome back. You're watching Mental Shift with Dr. Michelle Mras. Where is my guest? Where did Dr. Goggans go? There he is.
There I am.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you finally on my show. And I would love for you to share now more about what you do with your clients, what you do one-on-one. I know you've been doing one-on-one a lot, and then you're doing retreats. So what would working with you be, especially with the international crowd? How do they reach you?
Well, the retreats are something new. It's something that I'm working with people now to establish.
I know, that's exciting.
Yeah, so that's still kind of like in the works and fine tuning that. But the coaching is I do things differently where I do one-to-ones, but I also do groups. Like, so when you work with me, I feel they're both very important. And where a lot of coaches will just do groups or they will just do one-to-one, I feel like I bring them both in because they both really suit a purpose. And so when we work one-to-one, what I do is remember that this is a personal discovery journey. So we need to discover these things, and I bring people back into, going back to their childhood, where let's fantasize about what do you want? And holistically in your entire life, in your job, in your spiritual life, in your relationships, in your physical, mental, emotional health, what is it you want your life to look like? And we developed this script, this let me map this out. I believe that people will work on their budget, right? We have our budget, all of our finances are in this thing, and we look at it all the time, and we're checks and balances to make sure everything's going right, but we don't do this with our entire life. And so let's define what it is we truly want. And I don't care about the how you're going to get it. The subconscious is going to work in there and go, well, I want this, but I don't know how I'm going to get there. I don't care about the how right now. I just want to know the what. And when we can define the what, I tell my clients, it's the what that ignites us, right? It's that fantasy that makes us, oh, I want this. And it gives us this intrinsic motivation to start moving forward. But then I ask them the question of why? Why do you want that? And because if it's the what that ignites us, it's the why that fans that flame. Right. And we really will tap into this intrinsic motivation, this burning desire to do whatever it takes to reach that, because we've defined these things. And then I reverse engineer this and I say, okay, cool. Who is that person that needs, because you have to change. I mean, I will say change is an interesting thing. Like, I don't believe in a change per se, but you're going to start removing the clothing of the imposter, and that's going to cause change, right? You're going to step into the true you, as we talked about earlier. And so there's a shift that has to happen. For the true you is going to be the one that is in alignment with this end type goal. And so who is that person? And when you start listening to that intuition within you, that person is this, that person is this, that person is this. Cool. Well, who are you currently? And what part of this current person is not in alignment with that? And that's what the work is. It's defining this and then beginning to layer by layer remove the imposter, because we tell ourselves that we could never be that person. for some strange reason, we bought into other people's beliefs, our own beliefs, and things that have encompassed us to say that we cannot be that person. And so we just have to start shedding that clothing and then start wearing the garment of that true us. And it's so amazing because people are like, that's going to take years. It's going to take years. And it doesn't. It really doesn't. Once you start going down that path and applying things and shifting these things one at a time, that your belief in who you can be or who you really are starts to surface, and it just steamrolls. It's just the most amazing thing. But that's what it's like to work with me. It's okay, let's uncover all these things and let's teach you some tools on how to make those shifts, right? The book, what to say when you talk to yourself, change the narrative. And so a lot of what I do is people will say something like, no, change the narrative. Don't say it like this, say it like this. And because the words we use are very important. Visualizing us being that person, it's so powerful. If we can see it in detail of who that is, our subconscious will begin to find ways to make that happen. It's people will say it's like hippie woo-ish, right? It's very whatever. It's scientific, actually. We can break this down into science on what our body does and why it does it. And so that's what I do. I do with people is I break this down to them. It's like, see how this is in these realms that they can understand it. Because right now, I think people look at self-development and they go, it's just so much. It's so much. We read all these books and we have to do this, we have to do this, we have to do this. And like, well, let's just break it down to what can we do today? And what we do today, did we do it? Yes, cool. That's a success. What can we do that tomorrow? Yes, that's another success. And so we stack these successes. And I'm a firm believer in Earl Nightingale defined success as the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. That's success. Every day that we get up and we move towards what we want to do, we're successful. And that shift is, in my mindset, it would change my life, right? Because how could I found my successes every single day? But that's what it's like to work with me, the one-on-one. The groups are interesting too, because then I bring people together, and as a community, we share wins. That's what the group is all about, is give me a win. And I don't let people, if you're in my group, I don't let you not have a win. We will find one for you, because we need those successes. We need to stack those successes. And so that's what the program's about. I think you're on mute. I can't hear you, Michelle.
I said, when I was hearing you talk, I was thinking, come with me and we'll be in a world of pure imagination, because that is a huge key of what I talk about with my clients also. But I say, embrace your toddler mindset. And they do. What does that mean? The toddler in you believed. The toddler in you could actually imagine being on the moon with a tutu and a hula hoop. But as we got older, we stopped doing that. So I say, you've got to embrace that toddler that can believe in what you think is impossible. One of the things that I did personally is I imagined the woman I wanted to be. And every night before I went to bed, I would see that woman in my head, and I would squeeze into that body. And she was always wearing a white suit, standing on a stage, a huge stage. And every night I would squeeze into that body. And every day I would squeeze. And then one day it got loose and I was in that body. And it was like, and then I was speaking. And then it was like, whoa, when did that happen? Every day I did something little with that dream, that vision that I saw. And now the woman that's walking around is the same woman I used to envision. So yeah, I'm in my 50s. Yeah, there's a lot of things they say we can't do if you believe them. And that's why imagination is so important. That's why I love how you said that. It's that progressive ideal, just one little bit, one little thing. And that's where I think people fall. And that's why it's so important to have a coach. They think, well, I want this, so I'm going to jump and do something crazy and then fail and do, well, see, that's why it didn't work. No, one little change, one shift. You didn't get to where you were with one giant leap. Shift, and find those wins. Like you say, always have a win. There are days where my only win is I woke up.
Mhm.
Right? But
Yeah.
you've got to find the win and the wake up and the show up. And so
Mhm.
that's the other thing with accountability partners in your groups. That's it. Everyone else is showing up. I can't go to that group and not show up. So let me show up full. And that's the power of group coaching. And then there's that power of one coaching where he's going to look me in the eye.
Mhm.
So let me be the best version of me. I love what you do, and I love how you draw that out of people by being actually just matter of fact. You are being straight out honest with them. Who are you? Let's
Mhm.
find it and let's
Yeah.
work it.
Yeah, and it's it's amazing how when you can tap into someone and say, what do you want? And well, I kind of want this. And you're like, really? That's all you want? That's it? That's all? Well, no, I really would like this too. And that's all you want. But they like it's unwrapping Christmas for them, right? And they start to go, I really want to be an author. I want to do this. And well, no, there's no buts in this. If that's what you want, let's go after it. And I've coached so many people who are now authors and are probably going to be coming to you for speaking, because it's just a natural progression, right? When we tell the story, we write the story. Now we need to tell the story on stage. It's just a natural progression of things. And they do these things and they realize I do have a story. People do want to hear what I have to say. They do want to know the things that I have accomplished in life. And wow, this is kind of crazy. And I have a voice. All these awarenesses that they come up just from this little piece of what do you want? And like I said, it just steamrolls from there. And then and I love it because then I can just sit back and watch the magic happen. And as a coach, then there's some accountability. You do some gentle accountability that you keep them going. But it's that belief. I was telling a friend the other day that, and you said this too, when you see people talking, we see it. So when you tell me what you want, I start to see in my mind you achieving this and see you doing that. And they always tell me, Garrett, I borrowed your belief in me. And I was like, yeah, because I had to do the same thing with my mentors, with me.
Yeah.
And you're doing the same thing when people are talking, like, I believe you can do that. I see this thing happening. They're like, wow, Michelle, I didn't think I can do this. I had to borrow your belief in me. And then I got up on stage, and we just sit back as coaches and just like my mom would always say, it's like the cat that ate the canary. We just have this look like, I knew you could do it. I knew you could do it. And it's so fulfilling. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah, it sets me on fire. I mean, I light up.
Yeah.
I mean, I light up. And you've seen me in the room. It's like, they got it. They got it. And there's no stopping them now, because once you believe a little bit, you can believe more. And it gets easier to believe once you see one. Yeah, I love it. And oh gosh, I forgot what I was about to say about that whole borrowed belief.
Mm-hmm.
I spent the first 46 years of my life borrowing belief from everyone around me. And those last, 20 something years of my husband doing, I believe in you, Michelle. I do. Yeah, I don't know. And he says, you think I'm smart, right? Yes. You trust me, right? Yes. You love me, right? Yes. Then why don't you believe me when I say I believe in you? You can do this. And so I just shifted everything and started believing what he believed. I didn't believe it. I was believing what he believed. I was borrowing it. And then as little things started happening. And so that's the same thing. It's borrow someone's belief if you can't believe enough. Borrow when you see that look in their eye when they look at you with that. That's what coaches are for. Look at our eyes. We're usually doing, borrow our beliefs so that you can go be you, because we see you. The best example I can say, I was at a conference once and they had all of us pair up in like groups of 5 and none of us knew each other. They had us turn our backs to the rest of the group who stood behind us. And they said, talk about them behind their back. What do you see? And everyone started saying things about the person with their back towards them. We didn't know each other. This was about energy and feeling what they look like. Just assumptions. It was all assumptions. They all assumed correctly. It's been 5 years since I went to that conference, and we've all become the people they saw 5 years ago. So borrow the belief of the people who see you, because sometimes we're too close that we don't see ourselves.
Yeah, no, that's one of my favorite things is from Les Brown. He says, you can't see the picture when you're inside the frame. And it's so true. Like we step back, we see the entire picture, and we know because of the growth that we went through of what you can achieve. And so it's easy for us to believe because we've done it, and you can do it too. And so, and I like that. I like that we can put together, and especially with you, with the speaking, and put together the stories, because that's what we buy into. So when we have the story that goes with that, and I tell people, you know, we are taught that it's not about the nation, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And I think some people believe that then we shouldn't have a destination. I don't agree with that. I think we need the destination, but we tend to be married to a path, right? And sometimes the path doesn't work, so we have to learn how to pivot. And then when we reach that destination, we've gone through all these different paths that we didn't know existed. We reached the destination. We go, oh, that's pretty cool. But how I got here, that was amazing, right? And that's the story, is the journey. And I love to hear people, again, when we progress through this, just as a natural progression, when people go through these things, they find out that I can be a mentor to someone else, and I can do that because of my story. We hear this all the time. Tell your story, tell your story. And I love where you come in to help people fine tune that and really let them give them the belief and the faith that they can do it in any platform, tell the story. And it's the growth. I always go back to the growth, because I look back just 2 years ago. I'm like, honestly, Michelle, this journey hasn't been long ago. We're talking about 2.5 years ago. I started this thing, and the growth. A really good friend, I was like, I felt like I've known you forever, but I've only known you for 2 years. But that's because the growth that we had together was the magnitude was so much that it felt like it was a lifetime. And it's crazy. It's just craziness.
Well, you've met my publisher, my Amplifluence partner. It's been exactly a year. Yeah. I felt like I've known him all my life, just from the exponential growth I've had in the past year. And I want to touch on what you said about people get so fixated on the journey. My analogy is life is like a giant GPS. Mm. You have to give it a destination, or it doesn't know where to go. It just spins. Mm-hmm. But on that journey, sometimes a GPS will say, this road is blocked, go this way. Oh, mm-hmm. Here's 2 other roads. You have multiple ways of going. So have a destination, but be flexible on how you get to it, because life is like a giant GPS. You just never know what you're going to get. And don't force one path, because sometimes that other path is the one that will get you there faster. It may not look like it, but it is. So life is like a giant GPS.
Yeah, it's true. And I use the term date because I think it's fun, right? Just date the path. Yeah. Don't marry it, because we have fun with this. You're going to have many paths that you have to date before you get to that journey. So just date the path, and that GPS it's going to go all over the place, because and it's important that we have this analogy, because this is where people don't reach their goals, is because they like, oh, this is how I have to get there, and they go, and that doesn't work, and they go, well, then I wasn't meant to have it. And so they stop trying. And that's not how life works. That's not how God works. God is like, no, I'm going to make this interesting for you. We have things that we have to do, and that one path isn't going to give you the growth that you need to where you have to be. That growth it has to happen. We have to go through these pivots. We have to go through these blockers that we can go around, climb over, climb under. We'll find ways to go around it. And honestly, like I would tell people too, we take 3 steps forward, and yes, we have to take 3 steps back, because we need to go back to the path that was over there. It's not going backwards. It's just shifting that direction. The GPS going, make a U-turn, because now we have to go right. So those 3 steps backwards is part of the journey. It's part of it. And so embrace all that.
And I love that. Don't just date the journey. But I laugh about it, because I was one of the people who'd say, well, this is the path. This is how I'm supposed to do it. And one of my mentors said, how do you know the path? You've never been there before.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, you're right. And then my other one was, well, so-and-so didn't do it that way because I want to do it like so-and-so did because that's how so-and-so did it. And then he said, really? Look at your fingerprint, Michelle. Does it look like theirs? I said, no. Yes, exactly. Every dent in your finger is different from everyone else. Why do you think your path to whatever you're going for is going to be the same as anyone else? You create your own path. You are guided by your special gifts. You go find who you are, and that those doors will open. And I went, oh, and so that is how I've been living. And like you said, just that not controlling where it is, knowing where it is and trusting that it's coming, and just keep moving and let that water flow us to wherever we're going and go be the best version of us.
Yeah.
Now, we have come to the end of our show, and I would like to ask you some closing thoughts. What would you like to share with the audience, that some golden nugget that you'd like them to leave with?
My go-to quote nowadays, and I won't be able to go verbatim what the quote is, but I'll just give you the gist. It resonates with me every time I even think about it. But his name is escaping me right now. He wrote The Buddha and the Badass. He says that think of all those trailblazers, all those people that went before you and accomplished the things that you want to accomplish. And start to remember or understand that you're no different. You're no different. We're all human beings. We all are built the same way. We have, like you said, we have our own little paths to go through. But if they can accomplish it, you can accomplish it because you're no different. And to me, that's so powerful that if I can just say, I'm no different. I'm no different than Michelle. I'm no different than Garrett. I'm no different than Ken, your publisher, right? I'm no different than these people because if they can do it, I can do it too. And if I have to borrow their belief, then I'm going to go borrow their belief because they've done it. And find those people and understand that you're no different.
I love it. One of my mentors that not actually pretty recently, he says, no one's better, no one's worse. We're all on this journey of life. We're just at different mile markers. I'm like, ooh, I like that. Because, we love to compare ourselves to other people. And it's like, when you walk into a room, no one's better than you. No one's worse than you. They're just different places in time. Just be you and accept them for being who they are. And then be good to them. Help them with whatever they're wanting to do. And, karma will bring it back to you. That's how God works in our world, is you give, you take, you give, you take, and back and forth. And we help each other as we move down this stream without a paddle.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, wow. Hey, you got company.
I have all these people. No one ever comes down or up in here, and now they are. So
that's okay. I keep muting myself because my dogs keep barking. But what I wanted to share, and I'm so glad you were able to come on, is I wanted to share your heart and the passion you have for people to move past whatever is holding them back, because really it's you. It's inside of your own head. And if you're needing guidance, if you want someone to follow that from afar, if you want to just listen to his podcast for a while till you get comfortable enough to reach out to him, listen to his podcast. Go to nopaddleneeded.com. And if you want to learn more about Garrett, go find him on social media. Go to nopaddleneeded on Facebook. You can find him there too, and request to be part of the group, because he is in my world. He is. We do live in Colorado together, and I predict seeing him more and more in my world as we all expand together. We are growing together as we expand. So go out there, find Garrett. And Garrett, I'm so glad you finally got to get on my show. I finally caught you. And I'm so happy that your sister, I met her for coffee, and she says, you need to meet my brother. You make sure you pass that on to her. Thank her for introducing us, because as she said, you and my brother would get along really well. And she was right.
She was right. She called it. Yeah. And I am so just as well, grateful and appreciative of the work that you do And because your stories inspired me when I had you on the podcast, and that I like, you know this, because when you talk to people, like, we get inspired too, like, oh, I listen to Michelle's stories, like, oh, I'm amped, I want to go do more. And so, and you constantly show up, and so I'm so appreciative of you constantly showing up and being that light, because it's for all of us who are, like you said, are in the circle with you. We rely on each other, because, you know, life is life, and we need those people in our lives as well. And you've been that person for me, so I appreciate you.
Thank you, Dr. Goggans. Now, just to warn you, I'm bringing more to Colorado. As I grew, I'm coming home. So warning, I'm home. So everyone, thank you so much for watching our show tonight. And please share this episode with your friends, because what we discussed tonight, someone in your family, someone in your life that you love needs to hear this. So share and connect with Dr. Garrett Goggans, and we will be back with Mental Shift next week. So be the best version of you and be unapologetic. Take care and good night, everybody, or good day, wherever you are. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.